In Dungog, all the signs pointed to celebration. They say the future of the Williams River has never looked so rosy. These are the people who stood up and beat the Tilligra Dam.
It's made all these people here happy. That's why we're here to celebrate this brilliant victory for common sense.
And my family are all buried in the cemetery. Now they stay here. What better could you ask for?
For Jim Moore and son David, the project's axing means they can stay on their dairy farm, which has been in the family for 120 years.
4 years ago I was saying grace at the Christmas table and crying because we're going to put the dam in. This Christmas I'll be laughing.
As for Hunter Water, it now owns all of this. $100 million worth of prime agricultural land. The fact that the property behind me was purchased within the last week makes you wonder just how great a role politics played in yesterday's decision.
I'm not aware of any party polling in relation to this proposal.
I was pleased that we at least had a decision. After 4 years of waiting, it's a long time to hang by a rope, isn't it?
But for Dungog Council, the waiting game isn't over yet. The Mayor and General Manager have been promised help from the state government, and they want it before the town runs dry.
What we need to remember is we've got a significant land bank up there that has to be redeveloped and utilised again. It's going to take a long time to bring stimulus back into the local economy, and that's got to be appreciated.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
The Central Coast is offering to lend the Hunter a hand.
We can draw water from the Hunter and we can send water back to the Hunter. So we're more than willing to sit down and talk with the Hunter if they need to about expanding our Mangrove Mountain Dam and water banking for the Hunter, for the people of the Hunter.
But apparently we don't need it.
We do not need a new large supply of water for the Lower Hunter. We have enough water if we use it carefully and wisely and conserve it.
An independent report made public today says demand management and water conservation is all that's needed.
We also have the opportunity here to ensure that something as large scale as Tilligra Dam, for example, a desal plant, doesn't get to run forward because we can show here and work with people to prove that it's unnecessary.
The report estimates that such initiatives would cost $44 million, a tenth of the dam's price tag.
It's in fact a much more job-rich and cost-effective approach to go out and save water and to capture local water than to go for one big bang.
The approach is based on the idea that residents can save water themselves through refunds for installing rainwater tanks and efficient shower heads, as well as measures such as stormwater harvesting.
People are actually very positive about getting involved in water management and water conservation activities around the home, especially if they are supported to do so.
Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
Does the member claim to have been misrepresented?
By Mr Gordon in particular. My time on board MV Safaris was at no cost to the taxpayer. Indeed, and in accordance with the standing orders, I've declared this complimentary hospitality on my register of members' interest. Speaker, I wish to make a personal explanation.
Does the member claim to have been misrepresented?
Heading to the beach is a great Aussie pastime, but it can also be a dangerous one.
Every summer we see bright red sunburns, and it only takes a few hours or 20 minutes in some cases, and some people are really, really burnt.
Melanoma is one of the most common cancers in young Australians, and now there's a new initiative to try to curb that using, of all things, a jingle. That's the sound that will be played across Newcastle beaches each hour between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to remind people to be sun safe.
Our research indicates that teenagers are aware of the risks of sun exposure and they have good knowledge of the steps to take to protect themselves. However, they often forget to do it.
The Cancer Council enlisted the help of Australian musician Ben Lee to appeal to younger beachgoers.
We trialled it in Sydney last summer and 8 out of 10 people who heard the sound knew that it meant to protect themselves, so we had people acting when they heard the sound.
If we catch some interest and it helps some people, that'd be really good.
And sure enough, the head just popped out. So by the time Ian came back down, the head was already out, and that's when we kind of freaked out a bit. And that's when he rang.
Yeah, that's when I
rang the emergency number.
So I think I leave the midwifery for the professionals. I think I'll stick to my job, painting, and do. I think.
Well, outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely outside my comfort zone.
Plenty has changed since Ryan Griffiths last called Newcastle home. The city's team is now called the Jets. He's become a dad, and both factors have played a role in bringing him back.
Newcastle's such a great city where everybody gets together and you know, it proves it, like what happened on Saturday night.
The LA Galaxy game was one thing, but he's focusing on helping the club reach greater heights in the A-League. And after several seasons impressing in Beijing alongside brother Joel, there are personal goals too, like winning back a Socceroos jersey.
I was a bit forgotten over there, and I thought that Joel and myself, we did really well, but didn't get any recognition for it, so it would be good to come back and play some football here.
He'll be available for Newcastle from January. 12 months after that, his brother Joel will be off contract too.
I know that he left on bad terms last time. There was a lot of things that people didn't really know about the whole story. He loves the city, loves the fans and everything here, so I think if he gets a chance to come back, he will.
And while the LA Galaxy has only just left Newcastle, the Jets are already working on what next.
Having Everton come here would be, with Timmy Cahill, would be a great opportunity. But it would be a greater opportunity of actually having Timmy Cahill playing for the Jets.
Jim Callanan, NBN News. A leader by 6 strokes heading into the back 9 of the New South Wales Open, Peter O'Malley didn't intend to make it such hard work to win, but a combination of drop shots and others doing well saw the Aussie veteran in a 3-way playoff. He dropped off Peter Cook on the first extra hole, but found English amateur Tom Lewis harder to shake. Finally on the 3rd hole he did, tapping in for his first title in 5 years. And etching his name on a famous trophy.
There's nothing like winning easy, I suppose. I've been playing in this tournament for a long time. It's always been a trophy that I've always wanted to win, and so it feels fantastic.
Newcastle has claimed its 6th country cricket title in 7 years thanks to a convincing win over the Central Coast in Tamworth late yesterday. After their batsmen set a big total of 5 for 286, the Newcastle Quicks then did the work with the ball to see Central Coast fall some 55 runs short and ensure the silverware came home with Newcastle yet again.
Who have as their core fundamental belief the object of a fair go, left the party's finances under duress, made that position even worse.
As I've said, his position is untenable. He has a decision to make. If he doesn't make it, it will be made for him on Friday at the admin committee meeting.
Build on these financial foundations to ensure that this may well be the last conference before the next federal election. It is true that in Kevin Rudd, we have a leader.
Smelter workers fighting for their jobs and their beloved town. They claim both hang in the balance after negotiations to extend Hydro's power contract with the state-owned Delta Electricity beyond 2017 stalled.
They need to be able to invest money and have a long-term future, and if they haven't got that future, we're concerned that they might say, well, it's not economically viable to even stay here.
Hydro's been part of the Curry community since 1969. There's concern that if it goes, the town as they know it will go with it.
Not only do they provide a plus $30 million payroll into our communities, but they also provide a lot of support for the development of this town.
There's a lot of other businesses that ride on the back of Hydro.
There's 700 people on Hydro's payroll, with another 1,500 indirect jobs, among them Graham Vogt, an employee of 34 years.
I'm particularly worried about the community out here. I've supported my family here for 25, 30 years. Also very concerned about the people coming through, the young ones.
The fight will continue on Thursday when 4 busloads of workers and community members rally in Macquarie Street. State Treasurer Eric Roosendahl says the smelter has considerable time to negotiate a new supply contract with any electricity company. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
This is as close as Greg Sims has been able to get to his sister, Lynette Dawson, since she disappeared almost 3 decades ago. Now Ms Dawson's husband, Chris, believes this woman spotted on the British TV show Antiques Roadshow is her, but Ms Dawson's brother disagrees. Greg Sims says the proof is in the picture.
The nose is not hers and the jawline is definitely not Lynn. Even as an older person, you can see that the jaw is more squarer.
He's adamant his sister is gone.
I believe she's dead. I have for a very long time believed she's dead.
That's consistent with 2 coronial inquests which suggested Ms Dawson met with foul play and recommended charges be laid against a known person. Lynette went missing from her Bayview Heights home, leaving behind 2 young children. The eldest is now 32 years old, the same age Lynette was when she disappeared.
It takes a bit out of you every time something comes up. Every time someone finds a skeleton or body part somewhere, you always think, is that my sister?
A $100,000 reward is still on offer to help solve the mystery, and anyone with any information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Hospitality students got a taste of their new classroom and a chance to impress the local industry at today's official opening.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful facility. You don't find this anywhere else in New South Wales and probably not in Australia.
The $8 million academy is expected to train as many as 300 people a year across a number of subjects, including commercial cookery and event management. It was designed with the help of industry members and includes 2 commercial kitchens, a 400-seat restaurant, accommodation and conference rooms.
We're aiming to attract people here and deliver to a higher level and a quality that the industry demands.
And the timing couldn't be better given the sector is battling a skills shortage. The Hunter Resorts' Philip Healy says it's been looking for a head chef for 4 months.
There just isn't anyone out there. There's no one applying for that role. And it's meant that our food and beverage manager has had to go back into the kitchen to start cooking.
Students will start training at the academy next year. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
For mustached men, it's that time of the month.
To me, it was the first time I tried to grow a moustache in my life, and still doesn't grow very well, but I had a crack.
Movember, a charity event that sees some go to great lengths. Today was about crowning the best.
It's a great honour, It's a good cause and it's good fun and it's great to be part of it.
There's no longer anything small about Movember. It's grown into a worldwide phenomenon. Celebrities, only too willing to get in on the act.
It's raised so much money and it's just the ball just keeps rolling every year.
This year, the tally is expected to be a record, more than $21 million. But the big picture is about awareness. Prostate cancer and depression are among the biggest killers of men.
My uncle, he committed suicide at a young age. Back in his day, there weren't these support resources such as Beyond Blue.
And it's stories like that which organisers want every man to remember long after Movember.
Little things you do and pick up early and go and get seen to can change a lot.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
Try to get back to a bit of the form I come in the first year I was here. Like I said, last year got to a bit of a slow start, kind of picked it up towards the end, and I like to start the season like I finished it kind of thing. So.
Having beaten David Beckham's LA Galaxy in front of a packed house only days ago, the thought of heading to Townsville to play last place North Queensland doesn't quite inspire. But the message for the Jets was simple today: it's time to clock back on.
It was great while the experience lasted, but it's time to knuckle down again.
Weirman is one of the few who's played almost every minute of Newcastle's 5 games in 16 days, but he can't wait to head on a rare trip north this weekend in what will double as one big family reunion.
I'll probably have around about 40 or 50 people that are just all family, so it just goes to show how we breed out in North Queensland.
It's unlikely several of his teammates will be available to travel with him though, with question marks over Francis Jeffers, goalkeeper Ben Kennedy and Ben Kantarovski, with Lubo Milicevic considered next to no chance. As for the goal-scoring heroes from last weekend, there's also no guarantees.
They've got to be performing in all the time, not just some of the time, because at the end of the day, we now as a club are expected to perform all the time.
And that's a point not lost on those in the know.
We've proved it at home right now that we can play football and we're a good football team, but we haven't proved that away yet. It's a big test this weekend and I hope the boys are ready for it.
And the Hunter Medical Research Foundation is $66,000 better off care of the Jets owner Nathan Tinkler's donation for goals scored, while David Beckham's game shirt netted just over $10,400 alone at auction. It wasn't their biggest regatta of the year by a long shot, but it was one they were never going to miss, considering it was literally in their backyard.
It'd be good to win here again. We've like sailing on the lake, and any chance to race on the lake, we take full opportunity of it.
The Australian Championship's a bit different to the events overseas. A lot more people hear about it, and it's always good to win an Australian title.
Thing was, a pair of Kiwis were hot on Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen's tail, and what's worse, the lake duo had lent them a boat so they could compete.
We're hoping they don't beat us, but it's good to have some good competition here, and to get a few overseas teams out here is what we're trying to do.
They gave the Aussies a run for their money, winning race 2 today, but that's as close as they got to Outteridge and Jensen, who won the other 3 on the final day of racing to cement another national title, Nathan's 4th in this class. The pair has little time to celebrate though, with a busy schedule ahead this summer.
We've got South Sydney next week down at Wallara Sailing Club, and then we head down to Sandringham to do the first of the World Cup circuit for 2011.
The pair will also sail in another national regatta off Belmont in January.
Police are looking at the latest gang on Newcastle streets, a group dubbed the Pyjama Bandits.
Maybe it's just the next thing. You go out and commit crime in your pyjamas now.
In 2 separate attacks, they've sneaked up on unsuspecting victims.
There's certainly attacks that are quite surprising. The people that are committing them seem quite young. They seem to come out of the blue, and they also seem to be not very concerned about where it is they do them.
2 women were assaulted after leaving Crown and Anchor Hotel near the mall. Another pair was pushed to the ground near MJ Finnegan's on Derby Street.
Shortly after the attacks, the females ran here to Civic Park, where they were seen and heard talking to a male accomplice who asked if they'd managed to steal any mobile phones.
It was all captured on these cameras, but police need help identifying those involved, and they have a word of advice for anyone planning on heading out after dark.
I think you've got to plan your entire night. That means not only plan how you get there and plan what kind of a night you're going to have and where you're going to have it, but also plan how you get home.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
After a cooler and wetter than average November, the first day of summer simply maintained the status quo. And despite more rain being expected over the warmer months, the Hunter Melanoma Foundation was still out launching its new campaign, Don't Get Cut.
Don't get cut as in surgery, is having to have a melanoma or a skin cancer removed, and don't get cut as in cutting your life short.
These graphic images aimed at getting under the skin of Generation Z.
Melanoma isn't an old person's disease. It affects young people.
Such as Erin Lewis, who developed melanoma at just 22.
I always cover up now. I've learnt my lesson, and it's hard when it gets to that to be taught your lesson.
She's one of the lucky ones. Brian and Julie Winterbine's son, Matthew, didn't win his fight.
He got his first melanoma at 14 and he got a second one at 28 and he was gone by 30.
In the end, the melanoma got him. It took 14 years, but we no longer have him.
As well as staying out of the sun, people are also urged to avoid solariums.
If you're under 35 and you use a solarium, it increases your chances of developing skin cancer, in particular melanoma, by 98%.
I always feel a bit sad when I go to the beach, like drive along and see kids just laying out in the sun.
If you really want to have a tan, if you really want to have that brown look, get it out of a can.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News. For 7 years, the Victims of Crime Assistance League, or VOCAL, has been helping people during the festive season struggling with the loss of a loved one, and it comes in the form of a Christmas tree of angels.
So you've got the green tree, which is the supportive arms of VOCAL, and people put their angels on the tree, and together we build the VOCAL Christmas tree of angels.
Those angels represent friends and family taken too soon, such as Sonia Howe's daughter, Carla.
My daughter Carla passed away on Christmas Eve 4 years ago from a car accident.
This year, for the third time, Miss Howell will join others in remembering.
Tree of Angels helps me to give thanks and remember Carla, and also my brother Malcolm, who passed away, was lost at sea 9 years ago.
The Christmas Tree of Angels service will be held at St John's Anglican Church at Cooks Hill next Wednesday, and anyone is welcome.
Oh, it's very tough. Just every moment is tough. It just takes all your strength to get through another minute at this time of the year.
If you believe in angels, then listen to what they would say, and they would say it's okay to enjoy Christmas.
People interested are being asked to call VOCAL. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
2 months ago, John Williams could walk. He could feed himself and even hold a cup to drink from. Now, he's totally dependent.
The diagnosis came and was given 15 months to live, and we've just basically rearranged our entire lives since then.
Motor neurone disease. It affects one Australian every day, and the only thing doctors can say is enjoy what time you have left with those around you.
As much as it's hard to see, someone you love, this happen to him, we still got his mind, still got his heart.
And his voice. Growing up, John wanted nothing more than a radio career. Newcastle's New FM gave him his start, and for 10 years he's entertained under the name Blind Melon.
He's one of the few announcers that what you heard on the air is exactly the way he was in the corridor.
Probably any Australian musician you can think of, I've met and interviewed.
And now some of those musicians are giving back. Promoter Darren Brollo is organising a charity concert on Sunday.
When you look at a lineup like this, that I would have been working incredibly hard to get these people on board, but I've made a phone call and people, their hands up all over the place.
The proceeds will help make John's life all the more comfortable.
So basically I'm focusing on the goodness of humanity, which is coming out in a pretty ordinary situation.
So you're a rich man?
Yes. Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
At age 37, winning the Australian Open would mark the pinnacle of Lee McKechnie's career, which already includes the 2009 New South Wales Open title.
Something to back it up would be even nicer, just to prove that I've still got the competitiveness to keep on playing.
He missed the chance to practice because of today's weather, but McKechnie has set a goal of finishing in the top 20.
I feel like I'm sort of hitting the ball okay, just a matter of just holding a few putts and hopefully combine my game completely to shoot some good scores.
If he continues to play consistently this summer, the Newcastle golfer will qualify for the increasingly lucrative One Asia Tour.
There's about 15, 18, possibly more tournaments up in the One Asia region next year, around the $1 million US plus. So if I can duck up there a few times next year and hopefully come away with one of the wins, it'd be nice, yeah.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Chris Holder knows a thing or two about decent tracks. The Australian champion has just completed another successful year in England, where his achievements included winning the British Grand Prix. He says Peter Campton's track at Curry has plenty of potential.
Every time you come here, there's something new here, and I'm sure when it's all running, when it's all done, it's going to be up there with a few of the good ones, that's for sure.
Holder rolled with the punches to win January's national final. This summer he's looking to add the New South Wales trophy to his cabinet. His rivals include fellow British Tour competitors Jason Doyle and World Under-21 champion Darcy Ward.
All of them here on their day would pop out and beat me, not a problem. So it's definitely, I've got to keep working at it, and obviously I want to be winning, so I'm going to have to work hard for it, that's for sure.
Young Hunter riders are also in the mix, including North Lambton's Sam Masters.
Last year I went pretty well in that, and said this year I'm aiming on winning it. I mean, it's going to be hard with Chris Holder in there and that, but everyone's got a race, same track.
Sam has also just returned from Britain after completing his first year in the second tier series. His impressive debut culminated in a Rider of the Year award.
The fans pick it, so I must have got the most votes. I don't know how, but so yeah, I was pretty happy with that, and I got most improved as well, which is a bonus, and yeah, finished off the season well.
The state titles take place on Saturday, December 11. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
First Bex, now possibly Oprah, the hunter, it seems, suddenly has an A-list X factor.
I think it'd be good for tourism up there to have all these people, will come and see her.
The world's most powerful entertainer and 300 audience members will arrive on Australian shores amid much fanfare on Tuesday. She'll record 3 shows, 2 in Sydney and a third which will be a compile of the group's tour around Australia. And there's growing speculation Hunter Wine Country will feature.
But surely if she's making her decisions on merit, she'll go somewhere close to Sydney and a place which has the world's best wines and, of course, the world's best attractions and the world's best people.
She'll love our wines, for sure. She'll love our wines. And if you're going to come to Australia, you come to Hunter Valley.
R&B artist and die-hard Oprah fan Croc Henry Lucero has compiled a video and created a Facebook group, Operation Oprah, to try and get the talk show queen to the Hunter.
Sometimes she can just pick you up when you're sort of like, oh, what's going on in the world? And if she does, that'd be my dreams come true. And if I could sing for her, that'd be even better.
And the region certainly proved itself to be the perfect host. Just ask David Beckham.
We've enjoyed our time here in Newcastle. We've been treated unbelievably well. Anywhere we've gone in the city, everybody's been so warming towards us.
Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
It's time now for politicians and our governments to be taking notice that it's no longer okay to be ramping up CO2 emissions through increasing power stations. We've got to be reducing them and going to renewables.
He's the man with a plan. This time it's to further expand the largest coal export port in the world by establishing a loader on the former BHP site at Mayfield.
If it's a viable proposal, something that's possibly got legs, then let's have a look at it.
While Nathan Tinkler is still fine-tuning the idea, the Hunter Business Chamber says if it goes forward, it shouldn't interfere with the creation of a new container terminal.
The Hunter needs that. We've got trade. Most of the trade that comes in and out of the region comes via Sydney. We need that to come through the Port of Newcastle. So it's absolutely critical that the plans for a container terminal go ahead.
The news has come as a shock to John Hayes from the Correct Planning and Consultation for Mayfield Group.
The main thing we dislike at the moment is there has been no consultation. We have been given no facts.
But Mr Hayes has also got his hands full battling Port Waratah's plans to build a new terminal, T4, at Kooragang.
We will be looking to further development of the Kooragang footprint, going to around about 145 million tonnes, and from then on we look at the staged new terminal going forward.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Hunter Water had been working on the Tilligra Dam project for 5 years before it was axed by Premier Keneally on Sunday.
We were naturally disappointed after the decision came out, but I've told the organisation, hold your head high.
Now it's back to the drawing board for the organisation, which says there's still a need to secure the region's water supply.
The most important thing for the organisation is start the new process of a new water plan for this community, and we will be in discussions with New South Wales Office of Water to get that going as soon as possible.
Hunter Water CEO Kevin Young says the options which could be explored include desalination, stormwater harvesting and recycling.
We've done a $500,000 study looking at the maximum amount that we can recycle in the Hunter. We're going to re-investigate that. We'll look at all of the options for using recycling, not just for our residential areas, but there's great opportunities for our industry as well.
Mr Young, though, claims those options each come with a price tag 3 times that of Tilligra, and the solution, in the short term at least, is water efficiency. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
The fact that the developer wants concessions in relation to a number of development standards doesn't seem to make sense when we've got civic leaders crying out for renewal of the city. We've got so many degraded sites there which have generous floor space and height allowances, and to develop those sites would increase.
If you think we largely dodged the financial crisis which crippled many countries, think again. These experts say more than 12 months on, Australia is still feeling the effects.
What's left over is, 5.4, 5.8% unemployment and rising, a very large rise in underemployment, people who can't find enough hours of work.
And Novocastrians didn't emerge unscathed either.
What happened in Newcastle, which was rather different to the rest of the state and also the rest of the country, is our participation rate fell very dramatically. That is, a lot of people gave up looking for work, left the labour force, and if they had have stayed in the labour force, our unemployment rate would have risen quite sharply.
Such findings are being discussed by academics from across the globe at a 2-day conference at the University of Newcastle, along with how to deal with the ongoing fallout from the crisis.
The really big challenge in the medium and longer term, but particularly probably the medium, is the climate change type implications of dealing with our dependency on coal. We can't go on depending on coal.
Professor Bill Mitchell says any move to renewable energy must be well planned to ensure our coal economy remains viable. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
And this is what the Hunter community have done. They're always there for us, they're always supportive, and we just couldn't have done it without their...
He's the Jets' larger-than-life team leader, and Lubo Milicevic definitely enjoyed the visit of David Beckham's team. An ankle injury kept him out of that clash and was supposed to keep him sidelined for up to 4 weeks. But it seems the positive energy from the Galaxy's visit has helped his recovery.
I don't know what it is, mate, because all I did was drink for a week, but it works, and cheaper than therapy, they say.
On a serious note, the big defender completed today's session and is keen to travel to North Queensland to meet a Fury side which last night knocked off high flyers the Gold Coast.
Don't really care who we play, mate. I'm not interested. Basically, I just think we have to go out there and win whoever we play, whether it's Melbourne Heart away, Fury away or Galaxy at home. You know, we're going out to win, so I don't care if they're the top or bottom.
While Milicevic has declared himself ready, Francis Jeffers and Ben Kantarovski will have to prove their fitness tomorrow morning. Ben Kennedy's knee injury will see him stay behind in Newcastle. Backup keeper Matthew Nash is confident he can fill the void in Townsville.
Our defence has been awesome this year. I mean, we haven't conceded too many goals, and it's purely because, BK's been playing great, but our defence has been awesome all year. And with Lubo back in, it's going to make a big difference.
Nash made a slow start against the Galaxy, but did enough to earn just his second A-League start this weekend.
It's always difficult when you don't play for a long time, and Nash was obviously very nervy in the beginning, but I thought he handled himself well later on and throughout the game.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
The sights and sounds of the Kingdom of Tonga marched into the tiny grounds of Beltree's Public School, where a handful of students waited for a glimpse of Pacific Island culture.
It has been astounding. We have been really, really excited, and to think there are only 14 children here, but to have something as special as this has been great.
Last year, Scone Grammar School students visited Tonga. This year, it was the Tongans' turn to travel and put on a show. The talented teens sang, capturing and communicating the South Pacific's heart and soul. And it really struck a chord.
It was beautiful.
Would you like to be able to sing like that?
Yes.
It seems their journey has been an educational experience all round.
It's very new, it's very new. Everything is new to us, coming out to a big country like Australia.
And the cross-cultural fun is yielding unexpected benefits.
Whole relationships are blossoming, and they're speaking to each other. And you would think that Tongans would be speaking a lot more English, which they are, but the Aussies are speaking a lot more Tongan as well. It's incredible.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
A packed stadium for the Jets' clash with the Galaxy was a small taste of what the Hunter might have seen in 2022. The football community is feeling the pain of the failed bid.
We got the Olympics, but we can't get the World Cup. It just goes to show how difficult it is to win a World Cup.
Our own young Socceroos captain Ben Kantarovski has missed any chance of playing in a World Cup on home soil.
It's sort of a big disappointment, sort of like that little fire inside your heart, knowing Australia might get the World Cup, it just burnt out.
But it wasn't just footballers and fans who were set to benefit.
Well, the World Cup, being the type of event that it is, would have accelerated Newcastle up the pecking order in terms of major infrastructure such as public transport to the airport.
Road upgrades, bigger bridges and an increase in accommodation were just some of the expected bonuses from the Hunter hosting a match. The state government will stand by its commitment to develop a world-class sporting precinct at Broadmeadow. Having consulted with stakeholders, a management plan will be put out for public comment early next year.
The significant opportunities here immediately are around improved pedestrian access, cycleway. We have a train station, for instance, and no direct path from there to Energy Australia Stadium.
The idea is already attracting corporate interest.
I'm well aware that there are several bodies who have already put up proposals or contemplating putting in proposals for hotel development in that precinct.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
It's a party that might need a new slogan. Protesters against a proposed mosque at Ellamore Vale found themselves outnumbered by the project's supporters.
It's a bit disappointing. I thought a few more people would have turned up.
Sydney-based members of the Australian Protectionist Party led the demonstration, supported by just 2 residents.
We're here to protest because I don't like it. I don't want my country to be taken over by Muslims, stupid politicians that letting get away with everything. It's not right.
The fact that there's only sort of 1 or 2.
Yes.
I mean, does that almost say that they support the mosque?
No, not really.
But supporters disagree, saying the lack of anti-mosque protesters speaks volumes.
This morning, the Ellamore Vale community has actually said that they don't want to be mixed up with them. I think that's a very powerful message.
And their message was belted out loud and clear. They also found support from passing motorists.
Police had been told anywhere between 60 and 80 protesters would be marching on Newcastle City Council this afternoon, but today's numbers obviously fall well short of that.
Council is still assessing the development application lodged by the Newcastle Muslim Association. Madeline McKell, NBN News.
For any future young Australians who are going to be employed by Sandvik are going to be downgraded to 1 week's redundancy for every year of service, capped at 10 years.
For more than 3 years, this Tilligarry building has sat abandoned. It's slowly deteriorating and falling victim to vandals. Now some locals have had enough.
Well, the last 12 months are pretty well unbearable.
Alec Fotef owns the service station next door and believes the situation could put lives at risk.
The fence doesn't work, of course. The building's insecure, so there's been a few fires already. And we don't want more this summer coming on. The undergrowth's just going to catch on. It's a bomb waiting to go off.
Sooner or later, somebody is either going to get killed or there's going to be somebody very, very badly hurt.
Mr Fotef says he's contacted Port Stephens Council on a number of occasions to no avail. The council told NBN News the building isn't its responsibility, but says it has been in negotiations with the property's owner to clean it up, with little result.
I have approached council and I would have thought that they would have at least made the owner make it much more secure or pull it down.
And that could in fact happen, with council saying it's prepared to prioritise discussions with the owner because of the community concern. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
A minor hamstring strain cost him the chance to mark up on David Beckham last weekend, and by the looks of things, Ben Kentarowski is keen to make up for that. But post-Beckham blues aren't so much his concern, rather coping with the energy-sapping heat and humidity of Townsville, along with a Fury side always ready for a fight. And that's also on his teammates' minds.
These are the tougher games, I think, where you've got to motivate yourself even more to sort of win those games, and I think we should dominate the game, being the stronger side, but I think it all comes down to the day of the game.
His inclusion and the return of big defender Lubo Milicevic is a boost for the Jets. However, while their star English guest player also travelled with the side today, he's no certainty to play tomorrow night.
Francis Jeffers is the one that we're concerned the most. He hasn't really done a great deal, but he knows his body.
The side will back up in Melbourne only 4 days later, and it could double as Tomislav Masura's debut after signing a short-term contract with the club. While there are encouraging signs too for injured goalkeeper Neil Young, who continues his long recovery from both injury and illness, and the Jets W League side heads to Perth this weekend, still riding high from Tara Andrews' brilliant strikes last weekend against Sydney FC. There was little chance of finding trouble at Nobby's Beach today. From the Navy chopper overhead to the mix of sailors and surfboat crews on land, it was quite a collection. They were all on hand to help set up the Australian Surf Rowers League National Selection Meet, being held tomorrow at Stockton, and that's when the boaties will really need to stand up and be counted, Dixon Park included.
I don't think it's really sunk in that they're getting a shot at an Australian team.
Sweep Trevor Dyson will be ramming that message home for the Open and under-23 crews he'll take into the titles. By rights, Dixon Park is already a winner by merely earning the rare invitations to compete. But that's not enough for the man who'll be steering it all tomorrow.
Nobody's unbeatable, they're only blokes in boats, so yeah, we've got the Newcastle killer instinct, so we'll do the best we can.
As for the league, tomorrow's event is part of a longer-term commitment to the region, with a Hunter set to host the Australian Open and the many thousands of people who'll come with it.
In 2012, 2013, for 2 years, we're bringing that event here to Newcastle onto Dixon Park Beach. So, with the amphitheatre that is Dixon Park, it will be a fantastic spectacle.